Again, I reported, I think it was, what was it, Monday or Tuesday when I drove in, like 150 over the freeway on I-35. It was a formation of at least 6. I'm pretty sure it was 6 Black Hawk helicopters, and they were flying really low. They were probably doing a training exercise. Let's hope they're not amping up the military for some kind of a disaster. Let's hope that the WHO doesn't really plan on declaring pandemic level 6. I'm hoping that's not true. If Bloomberg's reporting it, though, we definitely have to look into it. Forrest, you're on the air. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, Jason. I'd like to talk about country music and talk radio and people of God. So
all right.
This is where I'm going at with this. So I was down in Austin for several weeks, and I loved it down there. And Austin, Texas has some of the greatest country music in the world. There's all these independent artists that are a lot better than the mainstream Nashville country. None of that like bubblegum, like candy ass country. It's real country. So, like, Willie Nelson moved out to Austin in the early 60s. The Nashville establishments, they were stuck in their kind of like country pop. It wasn't real country. So when somebody listens to you and Alex and other voices on the radio, it's really hard to go back to mainstream radio.
Well, that's good. That's a good thing. We're trying to tell the truth here. We report on the things that matter. I mean, we'll tell you when a bill is saying mandatory service for everybody, including baby boomers. I mean, that's insanity. And people are saying, oh, well, that's just a committee. Don't you think the committee is going to find that everybody does need national service? It should be mandatory. And this is talking about ways to implement it and find out how we can get that baby boomer generation to give national service. We're all just going to volunteer for our slavery, apparently, Forrest.
Yeah, and I'd like to talk about spiritual leaders, ambassador of God, who have been on your show, such as David Icke, Tessari, and Mark Dice, George Humphreys, Quincy Williams, and the others. And when they're asked what can we do to fight the New World Order and the occultists at the highest level that want to bring in their government that's against God, well, it all comes down to being at one with the omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent power that's everlasting. It's like when Pat Green said, if you know what I'm for, then you know what I'm against. So when we're for God, it'll take us through these things, and it's all a process. Just like when we judge a fruit by its trees, some of the people in the New World Order, right now they're in a season where we see their trees that are bare. But hopefully at some point, as the seasons go by, the trees will start to have flowers and sprout some fruit.
Well, you know what? It all depends on the content of our character, in my opinion. The fruits of our labor will be based on that and that alone, how we treat one another, whether we love one another. And I thank you for the call, Forrest. If we're able to stand up against tyranny, identify it, first of all, and then group together and fight it. And, that's why Reclaim the Blade is cool, because back in the day, one-on-one swordsman, I don't know, is it too much machismo? Is it too epic? I do look at, like, the Luke Skywalker, Darth Vader analogy of, a man growing up to fight his father who he really idolized and didn't know who he was, and then he finds out he's the epitome of evil, and he still finds it within his strength to defeat that evil. And not only defeat that evil, but bring him around at the end. Kind of turn him to the side of good. It's a great moral tale. Eric in Colorado. Eric, you're on the line.
Hey, Jason. How are you doing?
Good, man.
Oh, I got a couple things for you. This is the second time I've called in, and you guys were talking about the Earth 2100 flick, or a report. I didn't see it, but I heard a little bit about what it's about, and, it does seem like more conditioning. It makes me think of the History Channel 36. They've been doing this thing called Life After People for a month now. Yeah. And, I think that show kind of primes you up to want more. And the way I look at it is, when I saw the show, it's like, well, what happens if, 100 years from now we're dealing with the crap that we're dealing with? So I know my partially awoken mind still wants some of the things that have driven me before, but I'm seeing it all over in the media, and I kind of see things that are going on that I never saw before.
Well, you just look at that WHO panic, right? The swine flu pandemic. You had people all over the media everywhere. That Colbert interview with the woman who, did the lead story on Newsweek with the pig and its snout coming out, and the swine flu somehow manifested in the United States, and it's the dirty pig's fault, and she goes after Lou Dobbs. And then if you question where the swine flu came from, you're a racist who thinks the Jews did it. I mean, It's unbelievable to me. And now if Bloomberg really is reporting this, that in 10 days or within 10 days, the WHO is going to declare pandemic level 6, we need to be very aware. We need to be alert. We need to immediately call our representatives and say, listen, we need to get out of the United Nations. How can we be part of an organization that's going to declare a pandemic level 6 and not guarantee people their individual human rights, which is what they claim this organization is about? It's supposed to be that, everybody's going to need the same rights, the UN, world government, it's so good. When those rights are taken away, when it's the right to be a slave, that's when we need to raise our hands and say, no, we're leaving the class.
I'm exactly right there with you. So the other thing, 2 callers ago, there was a gentleman on about the black helicopters. Now, I live in South Denver, and unfortunately, I've been unemployed for almost 8 months now. And I also have noticed a lot more helicopters. They typically, there's 1 or 2 that will fly over towards Lockheed Martin. And way behind. But lately, I've been noticing a lot more variants. 3, 4, 5 helicopters headed off in that direction. I have heard that there is further south, Fort Carson. There's a FEMA camp, or a planned FEMA camp for. They used to use it as World War II for, I believe, Italian and Germans.
Well, people don't understand these FEMA camps are mostly makeshift military bases or facilities on a military base. It's not like, they have all these prisons set up just as prisons. No, they have other functions. Remember when Katrina came around, what did they use as their little camp? They used the Superdome. They put up barbed wire, they armed the guards, and they said, look, you're under martial law. There is nobody ruling other than the military. And then the military didn't come in and help anybody. They let people die inside. But I think they're going to propose it a lot differently. Hopefully it won't be the scare tactics. It's going to be the economy's crashing. You need medical care. That's why we covered the medical van story, national story at ABC News in Austin, Texas. I can't afford insurance anymore. It's okay. It's the mobile medical van to the rescue. Well, it'll be the FEMA camp to the rescue. That's where the bread lines will be. That's where you'll get your cheese. People who are on WIC and welfare and food stamps and already depend on the state. Well, there'll be new centers for it because there's going to be a lot more people dependent on it. I guarantee you that. We'll be back with Jay, Anthony, and others. It's the Infowarrior, 866-582-9933.